O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
46% of Americans expect to leave behind financial obligations when they pass away. So it's crucial to make sure your family is financially protected. Policy Genius helps you find the right life insurance coverage by comparing options from America's top insurers with help from licensed, award-winning agents. Secure your financial future with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com to get free life insurance quotes in just a few clicks. That's policygenius.com.
Welcome to the Gear Talk Podcast. I'm here, Janis Patelis, and my co-host, Jordan Budd, is here as well. Today, we are talking, we're going to answer listener questions. As a reminder, if you have questions for us, ideas, critiques, whatever, you can send it into geartalk@themeateater.com if you prefer email. If you'd like to comment on a particular episode, you can do that on our podcast's homepage on themeateater.com. Just go to podcasts, find Gear Talk, then find this particular episode and comment there. You can also find Jordan and I on our respective Instagram handles, jordan.bud or Janis_Patelis. Jordan, you ready to go?
I'm ready to rock, man.
Let's just get right in.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Everybody thinks about this one a lot. Garrett Backman wrote in and asked us, what do you recommend for headlamps, flashlights? Go for it.
I can say I don't really carry a flashlight. So I don't have a good one for flashlights specifically, but last year I started using a headlamp called the Petzl Actic Core, and it's a rechargeable. It actually has these little square batteries that flip in the back, and that little battery has like a USB 2.0 attachment on it, so you can plug it in and charge the battery. So you can have multiple batteries that you can keep switching back and forth to keep them, go to a charged one and keep flipping it. Or if you run out of those or your battery goes dead or whatever, you can take that out and still use AAA batteries inside of it. So a little bit of a redundancy thing there. And it's pretty sweet. I love the thing. It's super, it has 3 settings for brightness, and the brightest one is like really bright. Like it's as bright as any headlamp I've ever had. And if it gets to where it's like starting to time out on the top one, it'll flash once and it'll just kick you down to the next setting. So it won't just die altogether. It'll just kick you down to the next light setting. So I've had super good luck with that. I love that thing.
Yeah. And it's not too big. Some people carry around these just giant, I know this guy down in Arkansas carries around a headlamp that's so heavy it's got to be mounted to a helmet.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Kidding, Clay.
I'm talking about Clay. Those are sun spotlights. I own one, It is absolutely the shit when you're out there coon hunting. Clay likes to carry a coon light, just generally in the backcountry, wherever he is. It's a little too much for me to carry. I just don't feel like I need, a beam that can shoot 400 yards. That being said, I got a lot to say about this. I used to always carry, I think it was a SOG, some kind of a torch, that used those like super high dollar batteries, like are they the CR123s? Is that what it was? Yeah, I think it used a couple of those. And man, a couple of times it came in handy route finding when it's like it gets dark on you, you got into some place that, and it was easy to get in there, and then all of a sudden you're like looking around in the dark, your headlamp can't reach far enough, and you're getting in amongst some bouldery, cliffy kind of country, and I would pull out this, super beam light, and all of a sudden you can, blast it 200-300 yards, and you're like, oh, okay, there's that little grassy ramp that gets me out of the spot that I'm in.
Nice.
But I can say that like in the last, 4 or 5 years, I haven't been carrying that. I've been just relying on, doing a better job of, marking waypoints. If I'm going into, I actually did a hunt this year that was like that. Like we went up in the dark and it was sketchy. Like we found a literal goat trail, more probably a deer trail, but it was sketchy. The guy I was with actually gets a little bit of vertigo. It was fine in the dark because he couldn't really see how exposed we were. The exposure was only maybe 20 feet. But then when we came back down midday, he was like, just go right in front of me. I'll look at your back and we'll make it. But it's like, anyways, just to say that it was a little bit sketchy. But when I go through stuff like that, I just mark a waypoint on my Onyx to be like, this is how you get down, or back up or whatever. But back to headlamps. I've never tried that one. I'm going to put on my list of things to check out. But I've been using for a while now versions of the Black Diamond Storm. The current one I think I have is the 500R. Sounds very similar to yours, except I don't think you can actually, I don't know if you can get separate batteries to charge up for it, which is a smart move. But it does, you can take the batteries out and drop in some AAAs when you need to in a pinch. What I like about these in general, and at first I was scared to use these rechargeable ones because I thought, man, there's no way that you're just going to get the life out of it.
Yeah.
But I found that on full week-long hunts, 6-7 days, using it every day in the morning for, an hour or more, every day in the evening for an hour or more, and that includes, time in the field, or if you get back and you're, cleaning out the truck or, prepping gear for the next day, whatever it might be. Certainly several 2 to 3 hours a day, maybe longer, but I feel like I've been very pleasantly surprised that I've yet to be on a, anything under a 7-day hunt or up to a 7-day hunt where I've lost battery or, maybe towards the end, like you said, it'll kind of drop down in settings and you'll be using like a dimmer light. But again, very impressed that it lasts the whole time. And that Black Diamond one that I've been using has a mini USB to charge it. And my, battery packs that I carry also have mini USB. So off of one battery pack, I'm charging my phone, my headlamp, my little Garmin, InReach device, which that thing now, I don't know if you've heard, but man, there's a new one out that I don't even know what they're called.
The communicator?
Yeah, they're calling it it's communicator. Dude,
so.
I've left it on now. It's been going for like 4 weeks.
What? The little black one?
Yeah, it's a little black box. I just because I wanted to see, because they're claiming it's like 28 days. And I think that's with like use. And I think I've surpassed that with very light use, because I usually just turn it on and just stick it in my pant pocket when I'm going line hunting. That way it's just on. And if it really comes down to an emergency situation where I need it in a pinch, I don't have to then turn it on. Like I'm going to pull out my phone, go to the Messenger app and I'll be, sending out a message. But it's incredible. Yeah, I got mine from Buddy Woodbury over at W Hunting Supply, which is where I get all of my hound hunting gear, leashes and the antennas mostly, because Mingus is an antenna chewer. Although this last one, he doesn't seem to be chewing on. I'm gonna look over right now. He's gonna be chewing on his antenna. But yeah, we should talk about that at another time more. But it's incredible, the battery life, which just comes back to how I don't need to use my brick anymore to charge up my inReach device, which leaves more energy left to charge up my phone and my headlamp, which I'm telling you, over a week-long hunt, I haven't had to charge it up. Rocking this one. Have you had similar luck with that Petzl as far as battery life?
Yeah, similar luck. Probably, I think the longest hunt I've been on it with is like a week, where I could say it was completely charged when I started, and then towards the end, it might beep down to like the medium beam, but I don't think I ever went below the medium beam. Lasted the whole time. They've come a long ways. Like, I tried one of the very first, I think it's called the Revolt from Black Diamond. It was like the very first one that they came out with, and I just I could not keep, especially in colder weather, I could not keep that thing charged. And then at that time you couldn't put different batteries in. It was that's what you had. And this, I think they've come leaps and bounds with rechargeable items, just kind of as a whole. I think batteries are getting better. I mean, they're getting lighter and able to hold a charge longer. Just just like you were talking about the inReach. So yeah, do you carry two headlamps? Do you carry a backup ever?
Yes, I do actually. Yeah. Glad you brought that up. I believe it's called the Petzl E-Lite.
The E-Lite, yeah, we use the same one then.
Yeah. I mean, does it even weigh an ounce?
No, there's nothing to it. And you can just I usually have mine in my bino harness. And sometimes it's nice, like when you're in your tent, it doesn't kick off a big light at all, but it would get you out of a rough spot if you had to use it. But it's nice. It's kind of it's a softer light, I think. So inside your tent's nice. You can, the adjustable band that comes with it, it's not like a big, thick headband like a normal headlamp is. It's super thin. You could put it around your wrist, and the light flips and twirls 360 degrees. So you can do a lot more things with that headlamp too, instead of it just sitting in your pack and not getting any use.
No, I mean, and that's what it does there. There's a lot of gear, I feel like, when you're backpacking hunting, that it is there for emergencies. I mean, even my rain gear just sits in the bottom of my pack so much more than it actually gets used. But the last time I pulled that out, my buddy Joe Smith, who helped me on my buddy Ethan and I did an elk hunt where we drew tags in Colorado's 49 after 11 or 12 years of applying. And we had hiked way into some skinny little drainage to look at some off trail, walking a drainage, which I think I'm realizing I just hate. Unless there's a cut trail in it, they just suck because there's always a ton of logs in there. But we get in there, we hunted out, didn't see an elk, and we might have saw an elk in the way far distance, but nothing where we were where it was even approachable for the evening hunt. And we're getting ready to leave, and Joe's like, "Oh man, forgot the headlamp." Busted out my Petzl E-Lite, and he multiple times over the course of the next 90 minutes while we were hiking out was like, "Dude, this thing is saving my butt right now." So yeah, for the ounce it is, and I think they're cheap too. It's $40 or something, right?
Yeah, they're super cheap. Yeah. And I think there's other versions of it now that are supposed to be a little still super lightweight and a little headband, but they the light's just brighter, just has some more features. Right. But yeah,
I'm seeing I'm seeing the E-Lite 2.0 for $30 ish.
Sweet.
On the internet.
Yeah, good backup option for sure. Want to move on to the next?
Yeah. This one was asked a while ago. I believe it was I can't remember if it was the woman's husband or the woman herself that wrote in from Alaska, but the question that it seems like they hunt hard a lot in wet conditions in Alaska. Her husband's super stoked on his, FL rain gear pants. And she's like, dude, how come you guys can't make it in women's sizing? So I asked Ben Flandro from First Light, like, what's up with that? I kind of knew the answer, but he gave me a nice, concise answer. He says, at its most basic, rain pants typically are oversized to fit over the top of better fitting men's and women's pants. That being the case, a more unisex fit is often sufficient to cover both men's and women's needs. When you couple that with the production minimums and smaller volumes across the women's market, this is one area we choose to employ a more unisex direction. And I think the second part of that is what's important to understand, that there are production minimums, meaning that like if you want to make a women's pant, you can't just make 1,000 total or whatever it is, however many you think you're going to be able to sell. And there's going to be more. Sure, you could probably do, at a specialized factory, you could do less. It's just going to cost more, drive up the price. And then the flip side of that is that the smaller volume of the women's market. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, no, there's, so many women are hunting now, and it's like the fastest growing sector of, hunting. That all may be true, but when you look at the numbers, there's just aren't enough women buying these rain pants to make it worthwhile for companies. And there are some women-specific companies out there. What's that one? The one's been around for a while. Is it like Prois?
Prois, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You ever tried their gear?
No, I have not, honestly.
Yeah. I think Sika's got some, women's stuff. I don't know if they have, women-specific rain gear, but I don't know. So that's the answer to why First Light doesn't make women-specific rainwear. Anything you want to add to that?
Not really. Like I have never had an issue with it, mostly because I'm probably not a good representation. Like I'm pretty tall, got pretty broad shoulders. Like the men's stuff it fits me okay. Like it fits me good enough, especially for like rain gear. I can put it over the top of whatever I'm wearing, and I don't feel like it's really boxy. Like that's another thing to think of too, is like, don't think just because it's men's, it's going to be super boxy and like baggy and crazy. Like it's slim fitting stuff, I think, especially the new Omen. I think the fit of it, like the pants are pretty slim. It's not just super big, boxy, baggy stuff, but I'm also like 5'10", 165 pounds. Like I'm not, just what, 5'2", 5'3", 120 pounds. Like the men's small might not fit you as well as like, all the men's medium stuff fits me really well. So I'm not like a great representation on that, but I think it just comes down to like the women's market type deal. Like it just it is what it is. And I think we're doing really good for some of these companies that are making as much women's stuff as they are and really trying to put thought and stuff into it. I think we're doing pretty good for having that. So
yeah, and I think too it's good to add that, like, even for me, as much as I wear that Omen rain pant a lot right now, lion hunting in the snow, it's not like it does not fit me like a pair of blue jeans does. Like you're just not getting that glovey, super custom, like, the sizing is large, long, medium, long, whatever it is. So it's not like I get to choose a 33 waist and a 35 inseam. It just doesn't it doesn't exist. So even for me, the size that fits the best is the large, long, but I have to like pull in the waist a little bit, kind of adjust it. But it's still a, I'd call it for me, a baggy fitting pant. And it's not something like the, the corrugate foundry that just fits, nice and tight to my waist and, just snugger, more like a pair of blue jeans.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Ben talked about, like, it's just more of a unisex style piece anyway. Like, just all of them are, rain gear in general is just kind of that way. So,
yeah. And I feel like with the room that they give in those rain jackets, for layering and for bino harnesses, like, I'm always kind of fight them on that. I would even like them to be even slimmer fitting, but I would imagine that if you have a bigger chest, that there's plenty of room in that Omen rain jacket for that.
Hopefully that covered it well and all made sense.
Yeah.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Moving onward, tripods.
Yeah, tripod. On Instagram at DB_sportsman wrote in, what's a decent tripod that won't break the bank? I have a $250 Vanguard, but it's flimsy. You want to start?
Yeah, I've used the Outdoorsman's a lot, which is not really that's just like an expensive tripod, and it's a good tripod. But lately, this last year, I bought a Slick CF624 to save some bulk, save some weight, and it's $250. It's a tick under 2 pounds. It's like 1.8 pounds. And then I put that Outdoorsman's head on top of it, and I've got a pretty dang good system for under 3 pounds. And I found that to be pretty good, especially like packing. It's got the twist locks, so they're super low profile. Like sometimes the flick locks or the lever locks will just be a little bulky and get hung up on your pack, like on straps or whatever, pulling it out. The twist locks keep the profile pretty slim, easy to pull in and out of your pack. And it's still like, I think you get into a tipping point with like trying to be super lightweight on things, and especially with tripods, like how stable they are in the wind. I don't think this one that I've got is like, I wouldn't call it flimsy, but if the wind's really ripping, like it's going to vibrate your optics more so than I think like a heavier, like aluminum tripod would. So I think that's something to think about, but man, that's what I've been using. That's $250 and good system. You got something similar, right?
Yeah. And I took a quick look at, I had never heard of Vanguard tripods, and I'm guessing that like a lot of the more affordable, tripod setups, when you buy theirs, you get a head with it. So that's like a $250 combo, head and, legs.
Good point.
The thing with the heads that usually come, if you're going to get a head that just comes with the legs, you're probably, it's probably a lot lighter, but man, you're just sacrificing so much, and just, the smoothness of the movements. A lot of them will just have one like handle that you twist open, and it kind of opens up the whole ball or whatever is the moving mechanism in it, versus having separate tilt and pan. And when you really sit down to start just pounding the glass, it just doesn't work well at all. You're having to hold it, and anytime you're having to do extra holding, as opposed to just looking and using, like I usually just use the bridge of my nose to move my binoculars around as I'm, glassing. Anytime you're having to use, your hands, arms, or whatever, it doesn't seem like a lot, but just instead of having them at your sides and having them up and hanging on to a handle, sure, you're like, oh, I can do that forever. Well, I challenge you, because I bet and you can do it for 20 minutes or even 30 minutes, but after 2 hours, your hand is tired and you're gonna start glassing less, not as hard, whatever. And the person that has the better setup is gonna be, still going after it hard. The Slick CF Pros are what I use as well. I've had my original one. I'd have to say it was a 733 model, and I probably bought it in right around 2002 or 3. So it's coming on 20 years. It still works. The little rubber twist things that go around the twist locks have sometimes come loose, and I've just, jammed some glue in there. I actually sent it back to Slick, and they replaced the foamy outer part for me. So very high quality product, lightweight. I prefer the carbon fiber over an aluminum because it's quieter and it doesn't get cold to the touch. Sometimes that aluminum is so cold in cold conditions that even with a glove on, you're walking around hanging onto your tripod, and your fingers the heat just gets sucked right out of them.
Great point.
So the way to understand these tripods, because you're gonna go to whatever B&H photo video and be like, oh my God, Slick makes 500 different carbon fiber tripods. In the 3 numbers, the 6, 7, 8, I don't even know if they make a 5, but that basically stands for the diameter, the thickness, the strength of the legs themselves. So the 6s to me I own 6, 7, and 8. The 6 is great because it's the lightest weight, but like you said, it's flimsy. It's just in any kind of windy condition, your high-end optics that are worth thousands of dollars are going to look like crap because they're vibrating in the wind and you can't get a steady picture. There's nothing worse. I hate looking through someone's super nice spotting scope and it's shaking because they have it on a cheap tripod. One second. Vegas. Hey. All right. So with the Slick carbon fiber tripods, they like each model comes with it's like a 3-number model, like 624, like the one Jordan just said, 634, 633, 733. I'm having a hard time figuring out what the middle number stands for, but the first number is going to be the diameter and the strength, stability of the legs themselves. The last number is going to be how many sections of legs that you have, how many sections the leg has itself. So like a 733 is going to be kind of that middle ground of stiffness and sturdiness and weight. And it's going to have 3 sections. I'm guessing that middle one has something to do with what the total height is going to be.
Yeah.
That was your guess, Jordan. But I know that with my the 633 and a 733 that I just bought this year, both of them will get tall enough with the center post that for me as a 6'2" person, if I sort of spread my legs out or, bend my knees a little bit, I can look straight through my binoculars off of them. The 6 series is, like you said, a little bit light, a little bit wobbly. 7 series to me is just perfect. It gets a little bit heavier. But again, it's like when it really matters and you're trying to get a good look at something, you're going to be happy that you have the stability of the 7. The 8, I just don't use it that much. It's just, if I 100% knew that I was only going to be looking, next to the truck and jumping out of the truck and setting up a tripod, I would use the 8s. Or if I had just some really giant glass, which I don't own anything like the Koa Big Eyes or any of those big dogs, those would come into use more often. So that's how they work. My recommendation is the 7 series. You can either go 733 or 734. If you go with the 4 section legs, it's going to come out to roughly probably the same total height, but because there's 4 sections, it becomes more compact.
Yeah.
So I have compact versions. I don't know if it's necessarily any better because where the tripod lives on my backpack, it can be another 6 or 8 inches longer and it's still just fine being there. Like I don't need it necessarily shorter because it lives in either, a long pocket on the outside or just strapped to the outside of the pack anyways. So it can pretty much be as long as the pack and it's not really getting in my way. But both of those, trying to get back to telling the DB Sportsman what a decent tripod is that won't break the bank. But I wanted to explain that so if you're looking, you kind of know what you're looking at. Those two come in right. The 634 is 2 pounds. 734 is 2.5 pounds. Both you're going to find it right in that 250 range, plus or minus $10-$20. So that's just for the legs. And I think that's a great deal for just the legs, for what you're getting. Like I said, I've got a set that are almost 20 years old and are still rocking. And you're going to do better glassing and you're going to just have a better product if you buy yourself a nice head. Like Jordan said, there's the Outdoorsman's pan head at $440. I tried out this fall and was very happy using the Sirui. I don't know how to pronounce it right.
Siru or Siru or something.
Siru, Sirui, the VA5 at $150. It weighs just over a pound. So your total kit is, still well under 4 pounds, or just over 3 pounds, depending on which legs you go with. And you're just going to have a much better glassing experience by going with a nice head like that. Total price, you're going to be in at about $400. I don't know if that might break the bank for some. If you're already spending $250, I think you can spend the extra $150 and really get yourself something solid. That's gonna really do the job right.
Yeah,
so.
And that I've heard there's like quite a few of buddies or whatever of mine are running that VA5 head and they love it. And I haven't personally ran it, but there's another one too that I ran for a while. It's called the Benro S2. And it's a little bit smaller than the VA5. And it's not gonna handle really big optics well, like a 95 or something like that. But like your standard like 80 millimeter spotter, it's gonna be fine for. And that is right. It's right in around that. It's cheaper than $150. It might be closer to 100 or like 110. But I think like that is like the best bang for your buck is like that 634 or even the 24 with like that VA5 head. Like if you want the best bang for your buck that's going to last a long time, I think that's where it's at. And like you said, you've been using your 634 forever and it's still kicking. Like it's not something that's just you're going to have to repurchase in a couple of years. Like it's going to kind of, I don't know. This is one thing I've gone to where I have to like, you're just switching heads all the time and changing tripods and trying to sell and buy new ones. And it's like, if you just get a good system to start with, you're going to be so much happier. So.
Yeah. And those heads, they all come with a plate or two when you buy the head. And then you can just buy another plate or two, depending on how many other things you're going to put on the tripod that you can then just attach to those things. So that way it's quick to go between binoculars, spotting scope, shooting rest, whatever else you might be plopping on top of your set of sticks. And I do want to say, like, there's ways to get around the flimsiness of like the lighter tripods, keeping them low to the ground, not opening it up fully. So again, that's why it's like, it depends on like, you got to know what you're using it for. And like, if you can sacrifice the weight, because even on a sheep hunt, it's like, okay, you're probably just going to use the binoculars to find the sheep. And then you're going to put that spotter on that tripod and you're just going to, then take the time to like study a sheep that's probably not moving too much. It's just there. So it's okay to set it up very low to the ground, because the higher it goes, like the whole thing just starts shaking more and the more wind is going to affect it. So keep it lower. It's going to be more stable, and the less wind is going to hit it. You can get, find yourself a wind block, build yourself a wind block, whatever it takes. So there's ways around it that can, justify, the lighter tripod, which is whatever it is, a half a pound. And, I'll remind you that a half a pound for one item doesn't seem like that it's that much, but when you do a half a pound here and then another half a pound there, and next thing you know, you've shaved 10 pounds off your pack, and that is a lot.
Yeah, and helps with the bulk too, which I've really appreciated the last couple years of trying to lighten stuff up. It just really helps with your overall pack size and bulk. Yeah, I think like some of these new slick tripods too, the newer versions of them, they have a little hook on the bottom of the center post that you can like hang, I don't know, like your backpack strap or whatever, you could put it on there, or a bag of rocks or something if you needed to help her way down.
I think that's how they sell it, is like, it's basically meant to to add a weight to it and to just stabilize your whole system. And so yeah, when you see that hook, don't take it off, because it might come in handy.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right, I think we got time for one more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Think
you want to read it?
Yeah, the question we get a ton of and circulates around is rifle calibers. So we have a question from James Boulay, and he says, I'm looking to expand to a guided mule deer hunt and moose hunt in 2024. My question to y'all is caliber. I use a 308 for whitetail deer in Connecticut, as farthest shot maybe 150 yards, and that's extremely far for his state. However, going out west and up north, I can see shooting around 250 to 300 yards. What caliber do you guys / girls use for your hunts? There's a lot of talk of these new high BC rounds, such as the 7 PRC and the 300 PRC. Not sure if these rounds will stay around or not. I do reload all of my own ammunition from 9mm to 308, and he's looking for professional input as to the best all-around cartridge that he can use for big game and what we use. And he also says he believes he's seen Mr. Ranella use a Savage high country rifle. I can't comment on the last part.
I think Yeah, just comment on that. I can't. We for a while we had a deal with Savage. We used their rifles. They were great. We were pleasantly surprised that just about all of them with factory ammo would shoot, right around an inch. I can't remember the name of the model. I think it was the 110. Whether or not they still make it, I don't know. But Steve's now using a couple different Weatherby Mark Vs. The reason he's using Mark Vs is because they offer that in a left-handed version, where that Vanguard Meat Eater doesn't come in left-handed version. Can you speak to the new high? Is he right in saying that people are calling the 7mm PRC and 300 PRC higher BC?
I'm not, because that's just going to be your bullet. Like,
Yeah, that's how I understand it too.
They're just like whiz bang cartridges, like.
Yeah, they got more. They got a lot of powder behind them.
Yeah.
BC stands for ballistic coefficient, which is basically the shape of the bullet and how it reacts to the air that is going through. The higher the BC, basically the sleeker it is, and the less it's being slowed down, or the less drag is being imparted on it as it flies through the air. That's a real basic version of it. So I don't think that somehow because there's a new cartridge behind a 7mm bullet that's going to make it a higher BC. So might be just a little bit confused there. I don't know much about those. I know that the 6 and the 6.5 PRC have been, a lot of fanfare the last 5 years. And it seems like the 7mm and 300 are equally going to be getting some excitement. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're probably better for whatever reason, accuracy, burn rate of powder, whatever it might be. I've kind of fallen out of like the super technical, different calibers conversation. It's one of those things that just fell to the wayside when I had kids. So I'm hoping that once that slows down a little bit, I'll be able to like mess around with that more. But yeah, I'm sure they're great rounds. But honestly, the 308, I believe he's already got a gun that he can go hunting out west with and easily shoot. If he's only shooting out to 300 yards, then like easily can do that. You could just bump up to 180 grain, or I'm guessing you can load a 308 Win with a 200 grain bullet. And that would be plenty for a moose or a mule deer out to the 300 yard range. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think like especially for a mule deer hunt, that's plenty. Like a moose, I haven't been on a lot of moose hunts. But if I were gonna go on a moose hunt, I think I would want to go to probably like a 300 Win or even just a regular 7 mag. We always, so like I used to work for a company, it was a rifle company. They mostly were like around the long range deal, but they really like to push like a 7 mag, like that's a big cartridge. And you can handle the recoil better than like a 300 Win. So you're able to track your shot. Like when you shoot, you just don't get like, if you have to make a follow-up shot, it's just something that you can shoot better and like more confident too. You can just reload and get on target faster. So you're not dealing with a ton of recoil. Yeah, it's really like a lot of the new, like, the whiz bang cartridges and things we're talking about that I just don't get super like ballistically nerded out on a lot of that stuff. I try to keep it pretty simple, but yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, like the performance difference at 300 yards for a lot of these cartridges is just not going to be enough to make a difference. Where what makes a difference is how you shoot the rifle, how you shoot the round, if you can handle the recoil, if you're confident in putting the bullet where it needs to go. Now, obviously, you can't go and be shooting moose with You could, but I wouldn't recommend doing it with anything under probably a 7 millimeter, which would be like a 280, right? You could shoot. I'm sure you can shoot them with 6.5s and get the job done, but something bigger is just going to have a little bit more impact and allow for a little bit more variance in your shot placement and still get the job done. So yeah, we're not advocating to go super small, but I do advocate that like you just got to be comfortable with your gun, know your gun, and make sure that you're not just like way too under. You can't really be way too over because if the goal is to kill something, you can do it, but you can get too over and have too much recoil, which causes you to flinch and you're not making good shots. It can, way too big of a gun gets more expensive to shoot. Yeah. So, and I don't know, I think he was just asking about caliber. We can cover off on gun models later. The only thing I would say too is like, there's a lot of manufacturers out there pushing not necessarily pushing, but making super light stuff. Man, I tell everybody, like, just lose a couple pounds off your belly instead of the gun. You're going to end up carrying the same amount of weight. And you're going to, more than likely, going to shoot the heavier gun a little bit better. Those heavier rifles just sit still for you and they don't wobble around. These light rifles can be much more difficult to shoot, just like we were talking about the tripods. You know, wind can start affecting that. You're just going to see it in the crosshairs. You know, unless you've got your shooting form down perfectly, you know, the torque is going to affect the gun more. Lots of different variables. So, and you pay for the lighter guns. So I would definitely recommend that, you know, buy a lighter tripod, you know, figure out your backpack in some other way to get it lighter. Like I said, I feel like 90% of the hunters out there could probably pretty easily lose 5 pounds of extra weight they're just carrying on their body versus trying to spend, you know, $1,000 and lose it on their rifle. Like I said, the heavier rifle is just easier to shoot more accurately.
Yeah. Another thing I want to touch on with calibers too, if you're trying to choose a new caliber, like I try to think about it too sometimes of how available the ammunition is, because like in case something were to happen, like 7mm is pretty universal, easier to find at like a smaller town hardware store or something.
100%.
If something were to happen, whereas like 300 PRC, they might not have that, or especially like, you know, things that you're going to usually reload, like they might not even have anything similar to that. So I try to keep that in mind too. Like, can't get all wrapped up in it, but if you're not like a ballistics nerd and want to try these new whiz bang cartridges and like really know what you're doing, like I personally would stick with the tried and true stuff that's going to be easier to find on the shelf.
Yeah. And all of it still works great. 270s kill animals, 30-06s kill animals, 7mm Win Mag, 300 Win Mag. You know, when I started guiding like early 2000s, the 300 WSM, very new cartridge. You could have called it the whiz bang cartridge then. It's stuck around, right? Like people like the 300 WSM. It's pretty commonly found now, I would say too. Like if you go into the local gas station, yeah, there's a good chance there'll be a 300 WSM in there. The 300 PRC, maybe that'll be like that, but it'll be 10 years from now, not in the next couple.
Yeah. So all things to think about, but I think getting a rifle that you're confident in and you can consistently practice with to make good shots is super important.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, tell everybody where to send further questions. They like this.
Yeah, wrapping it up. So if you have a question that you would like us to answer, or you have ideas for a future podcast, you can send them into geartalk@themeateater.com. And you can also hop on the Meat Eater's website to the Gear Talk podcast page, and you can comment on these specific episodes if you have a follow-up question or something, and we'll try to get back to you. And then our personal Instagrams you can hit up as well, Janis _Patelis, and then Jordan.bud, and we'll add them to the list.
One other thing, if you want to add something to this particular conversation, you can go to the Meat Eater webpage and find this podcast, particular podcast page, and then there's a comment section, and you can add to the conversation that we just had today.
Yeah, perfect.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.